My name's Jabril Osman.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for being on Studio One. It's basically
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
yeah, it's a platform where I interview international acts like yourself, acts across Canada, and local acts in Toronto to really highlight them.
Thanks.
This is like a platform I really believe in because in the city of Toronto we don't have too many media platforms, especially that really highlight a variety of genres and artists. So amazing to get you on. I'm
Yeah, thank you for
definitely
having me.
yeah, definitely already enjoying the conversation. Can you briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll just get right back to it.
My name is Wesley, and I sing and play guitar in a band called The Only Ocean from Los Angeles, California.
How are you doing? How's life on your end? Before we even
I'm
begin.
good. I just got my first haircut today since last October.
Jeez.
It felt pretty good to be able to get a haircut. Just because it's been just so long since I've actually had one. So, other than that, it's kind of same old, same old. I'm just kind of doing music and kind of slowly living life.
And you're based out of California. Is it totally because of COVID with the haircut? Because for me, I'm in Toronto, so the first time I finally got a haircut was in June.
Okay.
And we went on break like the March, so everybody was like maybe 2-3 months until we got our haircut. So for you with the haircut, was it like how are things in California?
Yeah, California is it's a bit strange right now. About 2 weeks ago, like there was a weird storm that passed through, and my town was like left without power for probably 4 or 5 hours because of the storm.
Yeah.
And later that night, I went up north. I just drove 5 hours to go see my girlfriend, and then the storm followed me. So that after that, the whole state has been on fire for the last 2 weeks. So on top of that and the pandemic and things still being kind of closed up. Yeah, we're still kind of she was like a family friend and she just kind of came over to do it, but I don't think you can actually go get your hair cut in a salon or anything like that right now.
But on the note of quarantine things like that, I know, being in a band, how's it been for you guys to, be creative, to work, things like that? How's that process been?
It's actually been great because a lot of the time when you're gigging and playing shows, you're not really, you don't have a lot of time to sit and work on songs.
Yeah.
You're always writing and you're always doing that. That process never really stops. But you're always, if you're playing 3 or 4 shows a month, you don't want to play the same set. You want to keep it fun in case the same people kind of come out. So we were always just trying to make our set cool. And so now that we have all this time to literally not worry about shows and to not worry about what songs we have in our set, we've just done nothing but write. And it's been kind of a blessing to really be able to we had our first practice since March last Sunday, and I think we practiced for 8 hours, went over 4 new songs. So we had all that time to we didn't have to worry about oh, someone's got to go do this, someone's got to go do that. It's been great just to only focus on working on new music, because we have other songs that we're going to release the rest of the year and probably beginning of 2021 as well. So we have all this kind of time to still put music out and to do things, and to also just work on new music. So it's been great.
And that's amazing here. And now going back for you personally, I know I think you guys met in middle school, the bandmates that, you've been friends for so long. But for you personally, when did music, really become part of your life? What artists were you, gravitating towards? And of course, at what point did music become more than a hobby? When did you really think to pursue it?
I started playing when I was 12, and it was bands like Green Day that really did it for me, School Rock. But prior to that, so when I was younger, my sister would always watch TRL.
Yeah.
So I was a little kid, and I was always just not allowed to watch it with her, but I would still when my parents weren't home, of course I would watch it with her. So things on TRL were really big. So it would have been Green Day, NSYNC, Destiny's Child, all those big powerhouses.
Yeah.
Those were kind of the things that I really gravitated towards when I was younger. And then when I got into like middle school and high school, I really got into a band called the Arctic Monkeys and the Strokes and like Interpol and stuff like that. And it probably wasn't until like my junior year or like beginning of sophomore year where I was like, I can't see myself doing anything else. I know it's a total cliche to say, but
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was so young. So like the logistics of it weren't even in my brain. I was just like, I'm going to do it. And somehow I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a really small town. So, you didn't really see a lot of bands like kind of make it past high school because everyone would go off to college. So by the time that I graduated, none of us went off to college. If we did, it was like community college. But I never went, and neither did the original drummer. The original bass player and guitar player did, but after a while, they also dropped out to just kind of focus on kind of the band. So I think in high school, I was like, this is going to be what I'm going to do. This is like kind of my identity.
Yeah.
And then it was after high school, being like kind of like 19, 20, realizing like, oh, okay, like now we legally can kind of go wherever we want. And if we want to go play a show in LA, and if we want to go anywhere, like we don't need adult supervision to go do that. So we just started kind of doing that. And once, I started playing more shows like outside of my hometown, it became a little bit more like, oh, this could be a thing if we really kind of go for it and try.
I know the band name came from an Arctic Monkey song.
Yeah.
As a band collectively, how long did it take for you guys to get the name? I know the story, but how did it all, come together?
Yeah, I somehow weaseled my way into getting a show like my senior year, without having a band name. So the guy that was like putting on the show, he was my guitar teacher, and he was the original guitar player's guitar teacher as well. And I told him, I was like, yeah, we have this band, and we have like a set worth of songs and da-da-da-da. And he was like, cool, like, well, do you want to play a show? And I was like, yeah, of course, that'd be great. Like, of course I want to play a show right now. Because it was my second band, so it was like kind of like the new lineup. And
yeah.
He was like, cool, like, well, I'll book you, but I'm making a flyer on Sunday, so you have a week to get a name. So I was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Like we've been trying, we just couldn't get a name. So
Yeah.
I went home and I knew that a bunch of artists got their names from, I couldn't think of anything cool off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And so I knew that bands get their names from like song lyrics. And so I was like, okay, I guess I was like listening to an Arctic Monkey song, and that record had just came out, and that was the first thing that I heard where I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then the next night I went to a show and just to hang out, and my band was there, and I was like, do you guys want to be called the Arctic or the Only Ocean?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we need a name for the flyer. I was like, but then we can change it after, because we were still so fresh. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. And so we were named the Only Ocean in our minds, like tentatively just for that show. And then, God, about like 2 or 3 years later, we were like, maybe we should have changed it.
Yeah.
At that point, we were already known as the Only Ocean, so I'm kind of stuck with it at this point. But
yeah, fun story. For you, considering it seems like you did a lot of shows, and that's kind of where you got your foot in the door in terms of being an artist. When it came to like releasing singles, with Cul-de-sac and things like that, how was that process to record music and to release it, opposed to doing shows? Because I feel like shows, it sounds like you jumped into that. How is that as a band with the process of releasing songs?
So Cul-de-sac was our first record we didn't like really think of anything like that. Again, and it sounds silly, but being from a small town like Lompoc, you never really saw acts like really try to make a release.
Yeah.
It was like, in our minds, we were like, okay, how to do a release locally from where I'm from was to just play a CD release show and hope that everyone would come, and then that would be your big release. We didn't really think. I think we released like a song, but we didn't like promote it or send it out to any blogs or anything like that. Even though we knew that was a thing, we were like, okay, let's maybe not do that right now and just kind of focus on the release. Cul-de-sac and So Shy and stuff off the EP, that was kind of by accident. We had released it, and then some of my friends were like, hey, this girl who does PR for us, she really likes your stuff. Here's her number. Give her a call if you want to work with her. So I was like, yeah, sick. That'd be great. And then she was like, I definitely want to work with you, but you should pull your EP offline so I can actually like give it a push. And I was like, okay, shit, because we had to release it like legally. We did this thing with this like wine company, and we had to release it. And so I was like, well, I'll just take it offline and no harm, no foul. And that was kind of my first introduction of like really having to like have a press release and to do interviews and to like promote it more than just like your friends, and actually like kind of make it like what you're going to post on your social media.
And how was that for you guys and learning about that? Because it's really important, you know, a lot of it, because there's of course releasing the music and, you know, and enjoying that factor, but then of course as an artist and promoting and growing a fan base and, you know, things like that. How was that, you know?
It was great. I didn't really think that any of that would like kind of being like featured on blogs and stuff like that. Again, like being from such a small town, it just, you didn't really see anybody do that. If you did, you saw it in like bigger cities, and in our minds we were like, okay, like we'll eventually get there, but I didn't think that kind of stuff would happen to us. And when it did, I think we were just excited, and then we were just seeing all of our plays go up, and we were like, okay, this is sick, like this is awesome. And I think just the overall posting of it, we were just excited to do it. And then everyone around us were kind of asking like, that's kind of like, how'd you guys do that? That's awesome. You guys got on this, you guys got on that. And since then it's obviously, for Watch It Fall, I was, you know, doing it for so many years. It's so easy now, but when I first started doing it, I was like, was probably a little too like excited and probably clogged everyone's feed with go listen to Cul-de-sac.
And I know you started working with producer Jonathan Devon. Like, talk to me about how that's been and how you guys have like grown as a band and musically and things like that, and how he's kind of helped shape that, you know.
He again, just kind of a band that we were friends with had just done the record with them, and they sent us their first like round of mixes, and we were like, wow, this sounds really sick. Okay, he did the Mars Volta, he did this, he did that. And at the time, we really wanted to record like a full length, like more music. And we had all these ideas of like things we wanted to do and how we wanted to sound. And we figured, well, any idea that we have, his idea is going to be like 10 times crazier given his discography and like how good he is at what he does. So we went and recorded with him. I literally just called him on the phone one day. I got his number. I messaged him through Facebook, and then we exchanged numbers. Then he called me one day. About a week later, he came down, and that was 5 years ago. And since then, he's kind of morphed into a really, really close friend of mine, and someone that, you know, even if we're not releasing music or even thinking, like, I'll just go and hang out with them and we'll just kind of demo out a song, and that's kind of us just hanging out. So I was lucky enough to really find somebody who wanted to make music as much as I did, and have such an insight. And it was kind of like the first record, none of us knew what the hell we were doing. There was all these little studio tricks that, like, as soon as he explained it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But you never really think about it if you're just like kind of like hashing it out and hanging out with friends. And so throughout those 5 years, it was like, it's just been this like kind of musical boot camp where I just have learned so much from him, not even about just production, but just songwriting and lyrics and how to craft your set and how to perform on stage. So he's been a big help, and he's had his hands in the project for the last 5 years, and he's kind of like the fifth member.
And now, pushing forward in current time, what does this "Watch It Fall"? What does it mean for you guys? Like, talk about the process behind the song and the meaning behind the song and the video as well. Just discuss it.
Yeah. So the meaning of it is just kind of it's about me not being comfortable with who I am at times, and especially more in the past where I would almost kind of hide behind cliches of what I thought were cool.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my way of like not really wanting to be me. I was kind of afraid that if I was to be the authentic me, that wouldn't be what people wanted. Like that wouldn't be what was cool. So I would just kind of pretend to. I would still be me, but it was kind of I even knew in my head I was like, yeah, I'm being kind of fake right now.
Yeah.
Just so that person thinks I'm cool, so they want to like invite me back. And so that was like a real struggle with like kind of my identity growing up. And musically, it was shelved. I wrote the song in 2016, and we were playing it a bunch around that time, and it wasn't coming along, and we just kind of said, okay, I guess we won't record it. And then making the last record, so this was 2018, 2019. John Devon was just kind of like, you guys need more songs. What about that one song you guys had? What happened to that? And we were like, oh, we didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And he was like, cool, you guys should record that. And so it's just kind of funny that became the single, because the reason it got shelved was we didn't know what to do with it. It sounded really, really lame. Yeah. At the time, all of us were super into Off the Wall by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So we were all just like really into that record, and we basically were just like, none of us know how to know anything about disco.
Yeah.
And so we were basically trying to make it like this disco song, but like an indie song at the same time. And it just kind of sounded like it was just two things that weren't really going well together. And it was kind of John's idea to make it not a disco song.
And touching back on being fake and not being like yourself, your true self, how did you like overcome that? Was it releasing the record, I guess, did that help and having that realization? Or like on that term, like how did that help? Like has music been something for you to like help yourself like grow and things like that? I think that's a really important thing to talk about.
Yeah, totally. I think I just kind of like checking in with friends and kind of talking and quietly kind of checking myself a little bit, and really just kind of thinking like, okay, like this isn't healthy, and like I'm in a piss poor mood right now, and like these are obviously reasons why I'm in a bad mood. I've never been to therapy, but for whatever reason, like writing down lyrics, writing something that feels insanely personal, like when I'm a little bit afraid to actually sing it and play it in front of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of made it, it takes away the power a little bit. If I can write it down and I can sing about it, for whatever reason, then I'm like kind of checking myself every time that like it happens. So the fact that I am lucky enough to write these kinds of things, and to kind of, I feel like if I didn't have it, I don't know who I would be, but I don't think I'd be who I am without having music and being able to write lyrics and being able to perform these songs. That's another thing that's great too, that I really do miss about there not being shows, is sometimes the emotion of it comes out in a show when I'm not really expecting it. Because you sing the song so many times that after like the 100th time, it's gonna lose its kind of like emotional impact.
Yeah. When
you're just kind of rehearsing it. But sometimes at shows, like the feeling will kind of come over where I'm like, oh my God, I'm really saying this in front of a bunch of people who I either A, know, or B, who don't know me at all, and now they're gonna know that this is how I think. So it's made me more open and kind of okay to talk about things, and made me explore why it is I felt that way, and
Yeah, and on that note too, I think as fans of music, I think when artists are like vulnerable and honest, I think that's when we truly become fans of artists because we can relate to them. And I think what you said, is really important because I know a ton of people
Absolutely.
can relate to that. Usually, when I get to the end of interviews, I ask how's the rest of the year looking, shows and things like that. But,
Yeah.
because of COVID, I've changed my final answer and final question and things like that. So for you personally, looking forward to the future and things like that, what are you most excited for in terms of possibly releasing the Only Ocean album, or performing again, or what's the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to?
Like when COVID's like no longer an issue.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it'd be great to. I mean, just to play a show would be fantastic. I think, yeah, at this point, I mean, I would play some shitty ass dive bar if there was like 20 people there just to
yeah,
kind of like have that feeling again. Um, Definitely playing shows. And being able to really, this obviously release was, everyone's releasing music in a whole new way right now, so it was definitely a learning experience. And I'd love to kind of go back to being able to release something and promote it just by being out there in person and whatnot.
yeah,
um I guess just things I really took for granted that I wasn't expecting would ever be taken away,
yeah,
like playing shows and just honestly just being able to see my friends and have it not be something where you gotta like ask who have you seen in the last week or so. Okay, you haven't seen anybody. I guess we can hang out today.
yeah,
You know, the little things. I'm excited for the little things to come back and have to not get a haircut in my backyard. Or
And finally, as the last question, for you personally, whether it's through being an artist or just growing up and things like that, what have you learned, about yourself, that has helped you either in the music or in life? Like, what's like a nice thing that you've learned that has kind of helped you?
it's okay to talk to people about what is on your mind. Oftentimes, I think that was why I would write about those types of things, because I never wanted to tell anybody. And kind of going back to what you said about people becoming a fan of an artist when they do get vulnerable, I got friends that I became closer with because I would be so vulnerable. And at first, I would do it with like, if you get drunk and at the end of the night, you kind of have those heart to hearts. And then after a while, I was like, that just feels so fake though. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want it to be like, 3, 4 in the morning to tell my friend how I really feel. Like, if they're my friend, I'm going to tell them how I feel. And music just kind of taught me, like, just, it's okay to be honest, and it's okay to, like, no one's perfect. And if you do have these problems, there's nothing wrong with it. And, I kind of faced on more than just like not being comfortable with myself through music. So I've just kind of learned that it's okay to check yourself a little bit and to kind of say like, hey, maybe you should do something about this, or maybe you should talk about it. If not through a song, tell your friends, tell your parents, because if you're quiet, it just kind of builds up. And
yeah,
I definitely struggled with that a lot of my life, where I would be so quiet, and then, all hell breaks loose because I can't handle it anymore. And then you kind of have like a bit of a breakdown, or, you don't feel like you belong anywhere. And I just learned, like, I still struggle with that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect again. I still definitely do that.
yeah,
But having music and having people that actually kind of care. And again, like if you're writing a song like Watch It Fall, and someone, if the band hears the lyrics, or the producer hears the lyrics, they're not going to be like, cool, just keep singing. They're going to be like, yeah, are you okay? Like,
yeah.
is this something you need to talk about? So, yeah, it just made me feel more comfortable about just expressing myself.
Sure. Again, man, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
on
thank
Studio
you.
One. Really love your music. I love rock and all that, and that's kind of like, I wouldn't call it my favorite genre, but I kind of gravitate towards it more. I think the single
Yeah.
is really amazing, and you know, uh, when things are normal again. Would love for you guys, come to Toronto, see you guys live, and that'd be great.
Oh, God, yeah.
But yeah, man.
All interview, I just kept thinking about I was gonna say I love Degrassi.
Yeah, that's like our
that's like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, it's cool too because there's a location where they film it, so if you guys ever come to Toronto, check that out.
Oh man, I've been watching that show. Like, I think I've probably seen every single episode at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tamara, the guitar player, her and I both kind of bonded over it, and she was like, I stopped watching once, like Liberty and Manny like left the show, and I was like, oh, I kept watching. Like, I watched it until like even when it went on Netflix, I was like, still like, it's the only show I can just watch where I can just like scream, and I have to probably walk away at least like 3 or 4 times a season just because I get so frustrated with the characters.
Because it's funny for like being from Toronto, for us, seeing Drake on Degrassi, for a lot of people around the world, they don't even know that he still was on that show, So for being in Toronto and seeing him on the show and all of that, then seeing him like progress as like putting Toronto on the map, it's funny for us, but yeah. Hell, last year winning the NBA championship, and then what was funny about it is like I didn't really even like. I remember watching the game and I didn't think like, oh, it's so great for the players. They're gonna celebrate. I just knew, I was like, I wonder what Drake's doing right now. Right.
And I'm pretty sure he like. I could have swore I saw something where he was like on the phone with Steph Curry, where I was like, that's such a weird world to live in, where like Steph Curry is not even talking to Kawhi. He's like, called Drake.
It's great. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I would love to come to Toronto. That'd be great.
Sure. Again, man, thank you so much for taking the time out, man. I really enjoyed it. Congrats on the single, and keep pushing forward. Fan of the music for sure.
Good talking. Good meeting you.
Later.
See you.
Studio One.